Hello, my name is Natalie Bungay and I'm from the British Pest Control Association. Today we're going to be talking about bed bugs, and if you're unfortunate enough to have experienced them yourself or possibly know somebody who's experienced them, you know the distress that they can cause sometimes. So today it'd be really helpful, I think, if we talk a bit about bed bugs, how you can identify them, possibly prevent them and then treat them. A bed bug is a parasitic insect, and what that means is they feed from the blood of its host animal. It can be a variety of animals, but generally we know them as feeding on human beings. And they're really common in the UK. Interestingly enough, in the 1950s and 60s, we thought we'd actually wiped out a lot of the bed bug infestations, and that could be due to the amount of chemicals we actually used then. But because of the restriction of chemicals, it's maybe an assumption, bed bugs have risen in the last few decades, and they are pretty common, especially in cities or areas where there's a big population of people. The name bedbug has derived from the fact that we generally find them in the areas that we sleep, around the beds that we lie in, and that's because we're generally still when we're in bed and sleeping, and that means it's pretty easy for the bedbugs to feed from us. Bedbugs will also spread to other areas, however, so you can find them in maybe your side tables next to your bed, possibly even the base of your wardrobes and in your skirting boards around the bases of your wall. There are actually many places that we can find bedbugs, as long as they feel they've got access to a food source and they feel safe in a harbourage. For example, a crack or a crevice within a skirting board or a bed frame, then they're quite happy to live there. There are a few ways that they might disperse, three main ways. One of them is through the growth of a population, like I mentioned. They will seek to have a better harbourage area if that population grows. But also another way is through their mating ritual. It can be quite intense for the female bedbug, and once that ritual has finished, then she will disperse and run away from the male bedbug. So this again can actually spread an issue into, for example, maybe a neighbouring property. Another more maybe well-known way that bedbugs spread around is the fact that they can hitchhike on things like luggage and clothing. So for example, if you stay in a property, be it a hotel for example, and they've got bedbugs, they might be able to get access to your luggage and then you take that home with you. And that's how an infestation can start sometimes. There are a few reasons why we need to control bedbugs. Let's have a look at what those reasons would be. One of them is that they can be very psychologically distressing. Just picture it yourself, sitting at home on your sofa or lying asleep in bed at night and having those insects feeding from you. It can be really upsetting, and some even might find it embarrassing. Another reason for controlling bedbugs is possibly the physical suffering of the actual bites themselves. There's no scientific evidence to suggest that bedbugs transmit any diseases, although they do have all the tools to do so, we just have no evidence that they actually do. But despite this, they can still cause quite a lot of discomfort physically. Each individual person will react differently to a bite, of course, but those that react badly, the itching and the scratching can be really uncomfortable. And if that itching and scratching is quite severe, you can also then cause skin problems, maybe even infections from taking a layer of skin off from that physical itching. And finally, if you're a business, a hotelier for example, then having bed bugs can be really bad for your reputation. With the likes of social media and how quickly your customers can get their experiences out there can really have an impact on that. They may even end up in some local press. Once a bedbug infestation has established itself, it's very unlikely that it will go away on its own. Possibly, if the environmental conditions change so much or the host animal is not there, then possibly they will, but generally, as long as those two things are there, bedbugs will remain. In fact, if you ignore a bedbug problem, then it's really likely that it could grow out of control and you'll have a real serious problem on your hands. Generally speaking, to prevent a bedbug infestation is almost impossible. However, maybe there are things that we can do to try and be vigilant and spot infestations really early before they start to become a massive problem. One way that you can be vigilant is if you are, for example, staying in a hotel, just have a little check around, just to make sure, around the bed frames, just have a little look to see whether you can see any bed bugs. Also, your luggage, make sure you don't store it on the floor or you don't put it on the bed when you get there. Maybe try and put it on a rack that they provide for you that's specific for suitcases. But we should also be careful of this as well, because sometimes these racks that you put your suitcases on can actually have a few bed bugs within. When you are inspecting or checking bed frame, for example, just to see whether there are any bed bugs, the things to look for is maybe they're droppings. It's a very small black mark. It almost looks like an ink stain that might be on the bed frame. It might be on some of the sheets. So just have a look for that. Maybe some blood spotting as well. Now, generally in hotels, when you first go in there, you're going to have clean sheets, so you won't see that. But you might see it on maybe the bed frames. Or if you've stayed there for a night or two and you notice some blood spots on the sheets, then this might be an indication that there are bed bugs. If you are particularly worried about bed bugs, maybe you're a business and you feel that you might be susceptible to them, then you can do some monitoring and sort of routine checks of the rooms or the areas that you're most concerned about. Two main ways for this. You can have physical traps that have got a sticky pad within them. This will catch any bed bugs that are moving around. But also you can use dogs to actually detect them and sniff them. They are trained just like any detection dogs to seek out bed bugs, and again, they better give you an indication to whether there is a problem with them. It's really important to remember that having bed bugs is not a sign of being dirty. Because bed bugs feed on blood, that is all that they feed on. So whether it's a clean environment or a dirty environment, bed bugs will be more than happy so long as they've got that blood meal that they desire. Bed bugs can be really hard to control, and actually I would say that it's top of my list in terms of those really tricky pests that we have to deal with. There are many reasons for this. Let's have a look at the main ones. So the behaviour and the biology of a bed bug is a really big reason why they're hard to control. They're mostly nocturnal, and this is due to the fact that really we sleep at night, don't we? And that's when we generally rest, so bed bugs will have ready access to us. Another reason bed bugs are so hard to control is the fact that their bites, when we don't feel them. This is because a bed bug has literally a two-pronged approach. So they will have a feeding tube of which they will draw the blood from us. But just before they do that, they actually inject us with an anaesthetic via another tube. This is a real great defensive mechanism for them because we don't feel it, so we don't brush them away. Also, bed bugs have a great survival tactic, and that is that they go into something called a diapause. This is basically where they really don't move very much. They retain all of that energy just in case they need it. If, for example, the host animal was to move away from the area, then this is when the bed bug would go into the diapause, just to conserve all of that energy. And then as and when a host animal was to appear again, they would come out of this diapause and start feeding. Now, the reason this is really important is that it's not just the adult insects that can do this. It's actually the nymphal stages. And because nymphs go through maybe about 5 instars or 5 molts, this will mean that each nymphal stage can go into a diapause of about 6 months, I think is the maximum they would. But if you imagine if each one went through that diapause for 6 months each, that can really build up and maybe even get to 18 or 24 months survival. This can make them really hard to control because if you're, for example, maybe thinking about moving out for a period of time and that may help the problem, then it really could take a very long time for that to actually be effective. Another reason why bed bugs are really hard to control is that they've built up a really good resistance to the chemicals that we have been using to treat them. So any treatment strategy needs to be integrated. You need to use a lot of different approaches and then ensuring that we select the right chemicals. If we don't do this, the problem could grow out of control. Bed bugs are certainly one of those pests that I really don't recommend you try to treat yourself. For very many reasons. It can be knowledge and skills, but also if you do attempt to treat bed bugs and you do it in the wrong way, you can actually make the problem a lot worse. To get rid of bed bugs, you need to first and most importantly identify exactly where the bed bugs are living and also to what extent they have spread throughout the room or property. Once you've located the bed bugs and discovered how far the infestation actually goes, you can then get an action plan together and decide what treatment strategy is best for you and the environment that you are living within. This might be chemical treatment, it might be non-chemical, such as heat treatments, and also something we call diatomaceous earth, which is also a non-chemical treatment that can be used. When you call a pest professional to deal with your bedbug infestation, before they actually attend, they will give you some recommendations or actions that they will need you to carry out. And this is so that the treatment strategy will actually be effective. Some of these things might be that they'll ask you to move any clutter or miscellaneous items that are on the floor. And this is so that they can get access to do their inspection, of course, but also so that when they do carry out their treatments, they have the complete access to the floor space for the chemical, but also so that they don't contaminate any of your possessions with any pesticides that they might use. A professional pest controller will always have the necessary equipment to carry out a bedbug treatment safely and effectively. To find a professional pest management company to deal with your bedbug infestation, then you can use the BPCA Find a Pest Controller tool. All you need to do is enter your postcode and you'll be presented with a list of pest controllers in your area, and you can be certain that these are all trained, trusted and audited by BPCA.
For more information about bed bugs, please visit bpca.org.uk/bedbugs. If you need a pest management company, then find a local member at bpca.org.uk/find. Alternatively, you can call our 24/7 helpline on 01332 294 288.